This video was produced by the UCD Maths Support Centre in conjunction with the UCD Access Centre. Okay, so in this video we're going to talk a little bit about the sine rule. The sine rule, as you can see up here at the top of the page, can be written in two different ways. The way we normally decide which way to use is by keeping in mind that whatever we want to work out, whether it's a side or an angle, we usually keep on the top left of the equation. So now I'm just going to go through an example here so we can see how this rule works. So here's our example. When we are asked here to find the value of x, the length of the side BC, which is here, correct 2 decimal places. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that everything is labeled correctly on our diagram. So we already have our angles A, B, and C. So now what we want to do is we want to write in the lengths of the sides so that they correspond with the formula above. So the length A that we have up here is always the length that's opposite the angle A. So in our case down below, the length opposite the angle A is this side here, so we'll call that A. Likewise, the length opposite B we'll call little b, and the length opposite C we'll call little c. So now we need to look at our formula and try fill things in and see if we can work out what this length x is. So first, let's try the a over sine a equals b over sine b, and if we do that, we see that we have a over sine big A equals b over sine b. Now we can just substitute in the values that we know. Well, we know a is our unknown x, so we have x over sine 72 degrees equals, we don't know what b is, so let's leave that as b, over sine 68 degrees. Now our problem here is that we actually have two unknowns here. We have our unknown x and we have this b that we don't know either. Which means that this formula will not help us in trying to work out what x is. So let's instead look at angle A and the angle at C. But in order to do that, first we're going to have to ask ourselves, what is this angle over here? Well, what we can do to work that out is to remember that all angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So if we do 180 degrees and take away what we already know, so our 68 degrees plus our 72 degrees, we'll find that this angle is equal to 40 degrees. So now that we know that, we can go ahead and try work out with this C side equaling our A side, since that's the one that we want, because we want to work out what this x is. So if we look, we have C over sine big C equals A over sine big A. And if we fill in these values from the diagram, we can work out that we have little c is 6 over sine of our new angle 40 degrees is equal to A, which is our unknown x, over sine 72 degrees. So now we have this equation here, and we need to solve it for x. So what we're going to do first is to cross multiply these two terms So we get something which looks like 6 sine 72 degrees is equal to x sine 40 degrees. Next, we're going to divide both sides by sine 40 degrees. And we notice that on the right hand side here, sine 40 degrees cancels. And that means we're left with x equals 6 sine 72 degrees divided by sine 40 degrees. And you can use your calculator to work out that this is equal to 8.8774, and so on. But we're asked to round this to 2 decimal places, so that means we're going to look at this number here. We see that it's greater than 5, which means we'll add 1 to this 7, meaning our final answer is 8.88 is the length of BC. And that is our final answer.